Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area, on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us on Channel 10 live every day in Waterford on the Media Network of Waterford, and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television, or ONTV. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com, and on My Michigan TV, or MyMy, at mymytv.com, where you can also learn more about downloading their free MyMyTV apps for your smartphone and smart TVs. All that information is on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also learn more about our programs and find us on demand, as well as each individual interview as well. Then let's head over to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about the spread of COVID-19, precautionary tactics you may need to employ in your daily life, such as masking and distancing, as well as vaccinations and booster shots. Also on our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, we feature articles from many journalistic outlets all throughout the state of Michigan in order to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines across the Great Lakes state. Our top story today is from Bridge, Michigan. It's their coronavirus tracker, as hospitalizations have topped 600 for the first time in over 2 months. Michigan's hospitals were treating with 624 patients with confirmed or suspected COVID-19 as of Monday, the first time over 600 cases since March 18th, when there were 624 at the same time. Although the state is only reporting new cases and deaths on Wednesdays at this moment in the pandemic, it continues to update COVID-19 hospitalizations 3 times per week. They have slowly increased since April 13th, when they were at 513 total cases. Almost all the growth in COVID-19 patients has been reported in 6 hospitals. So in the hospitals in the 6 counties of metropolitan Detroit. Because of a technical problem, the state had not reported updated hospital numbers since Wednesday of last week. Since then, the number of patients has risen from 532 to 624, and 88 of the 92 patient increase occurred in the metropolitan Detroit area. On January 10th, Michigan hospitals were treating 5,009 COVID-19 patients in comparison to today's 624. Case counts are slowly rising in Michigan and the nation, but increases in hospitalizations have tended to lag behind those numbers. The latest testing data compiled by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and analyzed by Bridge, Michigan, shows that 7.8% of coronavirus tests were positive in the week ending on Friday of last week, up from 6.3% in the previous 7-day period before that. That is the highest rate in the the 10th highest rate in the nation. Michigan's rate was 8th highest in the previous week. Also making headlines on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from our friends at the Detroit Free Press. The Grand Rapids Police Department has released the name of the officer who fatally shot Patrick Lioya. Again, this is from the Detroit Free Press. The officer's name is Christopher Schur. He is the police officer from Grand Rapids seen in the video shooting motorist Patrick Lioya to death after an April 4th traffic stop. Chief Eric Winstrom confirmed on Monday, quote, "In the interest of transparency, to reduce ongoing speculation and to avoid any further confusion, I am confirming the name already publicly circulating, Christopher Schur, as the officer involved in the April 4th officer-involved shooting," and closed quote, Chief Winston said in a statement. Officer Schur remains on administrative leave without police powers while an investigation into the shooting continues, Winstrom said. Lioya's family, lawyers, and others have been demanding the release of the officer's name since the shooting. Quote, "An intentional 3-week delay in releasing the name of the involved officer, which they clearly knew at the moment of the shooting, is offensive and the exact opposite of being transparent," said Ven Johnson, one of the family's attorneys, in a statement. Johnson continued on by saying, quote, "Once again, we see the Grand Rapids Police Department taking care of its own and at the expense of the family's mental health and well-being," and closed quote. National Action Network founder and president, the Reverend Al Sharpton, who eulogized Lyoya at his funeral on Friday, also had called for police to release the officer's name, saying, quote, "Every time a black man or woman is arrested in America, their name is immediately put out," Sharpton said, continuing on. "But when this officer put the gun to the back of Patrick Lyoya's head and decided to pull the trigger, his family had to wait 3 weeks to find out the name of the man who killed him. Transparency is the first step toward justice in Patrick Lyoya's name, but it certainly isn't the last," unclosed quote. Police say Lyoya was stopped for having an improper license plate on his vehicle. After the stop, he attempted to run from the officer, who chased and tackled him. The men wrestled for the officer's stun gun before the officer pulled his pistol and shot Lyoya. An autopsy found he died of a single gunshot wound to the back of the head. The death sparked protests in Grand Rapids and across the nation, and renewed calls for police reform. Michigan State Police are investigating the shooting. No charges yet have been filed. State Police spokesperson Lieutenant Michelle Robinson said her department was notified that Grand Rapids Police plan to release the officer's name, Officer Schuer's name. The State Police Department will continue to ensure all evidence and facts are accurately collected and documented, Lieutenant Robinson said in an email. The State Police will forward the results of the investigation to the office of the Kent County Prosecutor Chris Becker once it is complete. MSP officials said in a Friday news release that the investigation remains ongoing. Quote, "We recognize the importance of this investigation, and we are sensitive to the need to complete it in as timely of a manner and efficient of a manner as possible. As with any investigation, gathering all facts and documenting every piece of evidence takes time, and we appreciate the patience of the community as we work to conduct a thorough and complete investigation," enclosed quote. A voicemail left with Becker was not immediately returned on Monday. The Free Press also left a message seeking comment with Schuer's union, the Grand Rapids Police Officers Association. A spot search of federal and local courts found no lawsuits associated with Schuer. The Free Press had asked Grand Rapids Police to release Schuer's personnel file as well. Schuer is a 2014 graduate of Siena Heights University in Adrian, according to an online alumni and community magazine that in fall of 2015 celebrated his being sworn in to the police department in Grand Rapids. He was one of more than 24 officers assigned to patrol on the East Service area in Grand Rapids, according to the city's website. Schuer studied accounting and criminal justice at Siena, according to the school registrar's office. He was also a top athlete, hitting a university and conference record high of more than 17 feet as a pole vaulter in 2014 at the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference Outdoor Championships, according to updates on the school's website. He was named Most Outstanding Performer of the event. In May 2014, MLive reported that his pole vault record and quoted him as saying he and his fiancée plan to wed in the African nation of Kenya, which is about 400 miles east of Lyoya's homeland of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Schuer and his fiancée had traveled to Kenya to help build houses on a mission trip through the church, Corinth Reform in Byron Center, just south of Grand Rapids. More from this article is also on this website. We'll continue on just for time through it, as that is the complete of the article. You get a little bit of information on the officer, a little bit of his background, but he has been named. Christopher Schuer is the officer who shot Patrick Lyoya in the back of the head during a traffic stop earlier on this year in Grand Rapids. That full article with even more details on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Lastly, making headlines at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, also from our friends at the Detroit News. Detroit Greektown Casino has been renamed to Hollywood Casino at Greektown. Detroit's Greektown Casino will be renamed as of May 1st. Its operator, Penn National Gaming, announced on Monday, promising a rebranding that will accompany a $30 million renovation of the hotel and other upgrades to the popular venue. Quote, "Becoming Hollywood Casino at Greektown will offer our guests the best of both worlds," said John Drake, general manager of Hollywood Casino at Greektown. Continuing on, Drake said, quote, "We're keeping all of the unique neighborhood charm that has defined Greektown since opening its doors, while adding several new amenities that come with being part of Penn National's flagship brand family." Greektown Casino opened in 2000. Its new moniker is subject to regulatory approvals, Penn National Gaming said in a press release. Hollywood Casino in Greektown underwent a $30 million renovation of its hotel lobby, including building a new cocktail bar and redesigning all 400 of its rooms rooms and suites. The work will be complete in the coming months, according to the release from Penn National Gaming. Other new bars and restaurants include Urban Cocktail, Rock's Bar, an upscale Dunkin', and Detroit Taco Company will also be on site, the company said. Prism, the property's steakhouse, will launch a new menu as well. The casino will also launch a new technical feature called My Wallet with its rewards app, My Choice, that will allow players to connect to slot machines and table games from their phones, as well as add funds, collect winnings, earn points, and more. The company also spent $1 million renovating its self-park and VIP parking garages. The remodeled VIP garage, which has about 700 spaces and a little bit more, is dedicated to their high-tier level players and connects to the casino's upper-level gaming floor. Hollywood Casino at Greektown will continue its partnership agreement with the Detroit Music Hall for the 2022-2023 entertainment season. Performers include Michael Bolton, Wanda Sykes, Boys to Men, Jim Brewer, America, and more. Hollywood Casino at Greektown will host events May 19th and May 21st to celebrate its rebranding. Information on those events is available on their website, greektowncasino.com/casino/promotions. Or you can just click on the link that's in this article posted on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as those ever helpful links to accurate information on COVID-19 from the Centers for Disease Control, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead on this Tuesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up, we'll speak with Oakland University political science professor Dave Dulio, followed by Dr. Brooke Weingarten from the Birmingham Maple Clinic. That's all up next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you. Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/Megacast, where we have information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now is the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, where he is also serving as a professor of political science. Dave Dulio joins us once again on the Megacast. Dave, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure, Tyler. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So just recently we had the county conventions and then the statewide convention for nominees for the Republican Party for governor here in the state of Michigan, other positions as well, such as Secretary of State, Attorney General, and more. And it's very similar, that statewide convention, very similar to what we would see on the national stage around the presidential elections, but there are specific differences, and there is a certain process that's undergone in each party in the state of Michigan. So can you give us a review of the process that the Republicans went through to choose their preferred candidates, particularly for Attorney General and Secretary of State, but also to discuss their primary candidates for the gubernatorial election?
Sure. Michigan has what we can maybe say is a unique system of selecting candidates for statewide office. And the first point I would make is that some candidates are chosen by primary and other candidates are chosen by convention. And when we're talking about a year like 2022, when we have a gubernatorial race, Secretary of State race, Attorney General race, Supreme Court offices, regents for U of M, MSU, and Wayne State, we've got candidates like Attorney General, Secretary of State, Supreme Court, and those regents or Board of Governors, whatever they're called at those different institutions, those are chosen at convention. And the gubernatorial candidate, as well as other offices, U.S. House of Representatives, State House, State Senate, will be chosen in August during a primary election. I would say another thing about two more points about the process that makes it unique. One is the state convention that was held last weekend on the Republican side was technically not the nominating convention. It was an endorsement convention. There will be another meeting later in the summer that formal nominations of these folks will be made and adopted. The other point, the last point I would make, and it gets us a bit of far afield here, but it's worth noting, we will elect Supreme Court justices in Michigan. We have for years and years and years. Those offices on the ballot in November are nonpartisan, but candidates only get on the ballot through a partisan process. Republicans will nominate folks to be on the ballot for Supreme Court, and they did, and Democrats will do the same. So it is a hodgepodge of maybe ways of candidates getting on the general election ballot here in Michigan.
And we've seen such contentiousness between these two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, at the state level especially, going into this election, but that's kind of just a microcosm of the national contention that is between these two parties, especially in the wake of the 2020 election, where the Republican Party questions the validity of that election, which is entirely unfounded and has been investigated 11,000 different ways, left, right, upwards, backwards, upside down, and every other direction you can think of. And then the Democratic Party continues to of course, go after Donald Trump and go after those that are in his camp, which is now dominating the Republican Party. We look at the endorsement conventions from this past weekend, and Trump-backed candidates were pretty resoundingly nominated for or endorsed for these positions. You look at close races, and you look at races in the Attorney General and Secretary of State's positions, particularly Attorney General Matthew DePerno, who won 54% of the party vote on Saturday. He has been very outspoken about his opposition to the results of the 2020 election and his belief. He's filed lawsuits in the past in results to that. And so it brings me to think about these elections. And again, the cliche comes up, the most important election of our lifetime. And it is so, because every election has implications for the next one. At this moment in time, how crucial in the Republican Party do they see this upcoming election in the state of Michigan for these critical positions, especially governor, attorney general, secretary of state, and even down the line in the Supreme Court, for their future in 2024? And then vice versa for the Democrats, how important is it for them to either, at the very least, maintain their current position in the state of Michigan and even nationally, but even more importantly for them, not give up any of that position to the Republican Party that supports Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think, Tyler, the next election is always the most important one. And that's, it gets back to the fundamental goal of a political party, right? Which is to win and then maintain control of governmental power. And because that's the only way that a political party and its candidates who turn into elected public officials can implement the policy alternatives that they prefer, right? So Democrats want to win in November so that they can keep hold of power in Washington, D.C. Republicans want to win in November to keep control of the Michigan legislature, right? And so it's always about the next election and therefore about the next governing period.
We're joined by Dave Dulio, professor of political science at Oakland University and also the director of its Center for Civic Engagement, joining us on the Megacast on this edition of the program. And so these Trump-backed candidates have been endorsed by the Republican Party. They're presumably going to get those nominations should something not go very wrong in the next coming months. But then we think about the analysis of the electorate in the state of Michigan and really nationally as well, because for the Republicans, the benefit of these elections occurring in 2022 in the summer for the primaries and in November for the general election is we're almost 3 years removed from January 6th. It's been a long time since that harrowing day and that harrowing incident has been fresh in our minds. It's given time, and time has started to heal parts of those wounds in some cases. On the other hand, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years is not a very long time. It's not a very long time politically either, and that's still very much front of mind, especially because Donald Trump's not in office. But him and his politics are still very much defining the Republican Party. How much of a factor do you believe that the results of the 2020 election, but more importantly, the incident on January 6th that occurred in the wake of the 2020 election may have an impact on the Republican Party's viability in these Michigan elections and even nationally in other elections?
Well, I think in terms of January 6th, you see the U.S. House of Representatives special committee that's investigating January 6th continue to do its work. And I would imagine that that's going to be timed up quite nicely with the fall elections. That's the prerogative of the Democrats, right? That they're in control of the U.S. House. Nancy Pelosi is Speaker. She can time that out just perfectly for them. So I think you'll see Democrats focus on that. I think Republicans like Mr. DePerno and Ms. Caramo will talk about 2020. I think there are other Republicans who want to move on and talk about anything but 2020. I think that the issue of relitigating the presidential election from a couple of years ago plays pretty well with some parts of the Republican base. Other parts it doesn't. And I don't have any data for you, but my hunch is that it doesn't play very well with voters that Republicans need to win statewide in Michigan. Independent voters, moderate voters, persuadable voters, whatever we want to call them. Those folks are looking forward, not backwards.
And so with that being the case, you look at the moderates, you look at the independents that maybe leaned Republican, certainly the independents that maybe leaned Republican in previous elections or tend to be more conservative politically. And you look at the moderates who are Republicans, who are more conservative and are not Trump Republicans necessarily. Do the Democrats have a viable potential of picking up those votes in these upcoming elections? Because as much as we talk about the moderate Republicans being averse to voting for Trump-backed candidates or candidates that have Trump-related politics in their arsenal, how reluctant or unreluctant are they going to be to vote for Democrats that may also be up for these positions in this election? And being that they're in that middle ground, are they more likely to go with their Republican candidates because of the conservative politics and take that risk? Or do the Democrats have a viable chance? And how do they strategize for that to try to pick up those voters? Because those voters presumably will be the difference in this election.
Well, I think I would say two things about that. One, we've got some historical data to fall back on, right? Where in 2016, in a place like Oakland County, you had a number of folks vote for Trump, whether that's because they liked Trump or didn't like Hillary Clinton is not the point, right? They cast their ballot for Trump. And then in 2018, they either changed and voted for candidates like Gretchen Whitmer, Secretary of State Benson, Attorney General Nessel, right? They voted for those candidates, or they didn't show up, right? So that's the real sort of trick in midterm elections is the surge and decline from presidential to midterm year turnout. So, right, Democrats can get those persuadable voters. So can Republicans, but they need to come at those folks with the right message, with one that resonates with them, one that is convincing, one that speaks to issues that they care about. And the other factor is, again, turnout, right? And right now, many Republicans are energized, and I think I'd be hard pressed to say that Democrats are at an advantage in terms of enthusiasm for 2022. I think Republicans have an advantage there, whether or not they will come out and cast votes for candidates like Mr. DePerno and Ms. Caramo. Maybe they show up and vote for the gubernatorial candidate and skip the rest of the ballot, right? Those kinds of decisions are possible.
We're joined by Dave Dulio, director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, as well as a professor of political science at Oakland University. More information on their website, oakland.edu. That's oakland.edu for more information. Also making national headlines in the state of Michigan from our state politics recently, Michigan Senator Mallory McMorrow, who is a Democrat, made national headlines in her rebuttal to being labeled a groomer, being labeled a pedophilia sympathizer by Michigan State Senator Alana Tice, who is a Republican. What were your initial thoughts about Senator McMorrow's response and the political implications that situation has, particularly because of the passionate response of Senator McMorrow? How does that then politically impact both the Republican Party in the state of Michigan, but also the Democratic race, having someone now on a national stage like Senator McMorrow on a topic that's continued to be of discussion in many different political arenas nationally and statewide?
Well, I think Senator McMorrow sort of threw down the gauntlet, right? She and just in her terms, right? She'd had enough, and I think that's fair, right? She was criticized and she shot back. That's sort of what you do in politics, and I think we've seen a couple results already. One is that, as you mentioned, she got national attention. She got a phone call from President Biden, and she raised a ton of money from it, and that's positive outcomes for her. I think that in terms of the parties and looking ahead to what it means for the the 22 campaign and for Election Day, right? It feeds the base politics mode that we're in, right? Where the Republicans are going to take away what they want to from it. Democrats are going to take away what they want to from it, and dig in more to support their side, and they're going to do what they can to fire up their base, and on both sides, this does that.
Yeah, I think for the Republicans that in the state Senate, particularly Senator Tice, it's sort of a retreat and rethink and then come back on the attack from a different angle, considering they got, frankly, body slammed by Senator McMorrow in response to that. And for the Democrats, it's put the pedal to the metal in that battle and really lean into that. I think that's going to be playing a significant factor going forward, especially as we approach primary season. And for the Democrats, not only are they focused on, of course, getting their candidates elected and putting their best foot forward, but also trying to play as much prevent against the Trump Republican candidates for those key offices, particularly Christina Caramo for Secretary of State and DePerno for the Attorney General's position. We're just joined by Dave Dulio from Oakland University. He is a political science professor over there, as well as their director for the Center for Civic Engagement. And we want to give you a couple minutes before we say goodbye to talk about upcoming events and discussions at the Center for Civic Engagement so people can continue to get politically involved, but have important conversations about these critical issues in a forum that is open, that is inviting, and as is in the name, civil.
Yeah, we're already looking ahead to next year, Tyler, and thinking about ways we can be a convener of conversations for issues of public importance, not just for Oakland County, but Southeast Michigan and Michigan as a whole. We're not quite ready to let the cat out of the bag on something that's going to come up in May, but I hope your viewers will watch out in the next week or so for an announcement I think that they will find very interesting and engaging, and hopefully we can come back and talk to you about it.
Well, Dave, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Good to talk to you.
More information on their website, oakland.edu/poli-sci/CCE, to keep up to date on our Center for Civic Engagement. That's oakland.edu/poli-sci/CCE. We're going to take a break on the Megacast, and on the other side, we'll discuss the benefits of therapy sessions from your own home and other mental health topics with Dr. Brooke Weingarten of the Birmingham Maple Clinic. That's all up next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Of the pandemic, mental health has come to the forefront of the medical community and of greater society. And now, as COVID-19 cases continue to drop and the pandemic seems to be slowly fading into the rearview mirror, the question then has now arisen: should I continue with online therapy, or is it time to go back to in-person counseling? Joining us to answer that question and more is Dr. Brooke Weingarten from the Birmingham Maple Clinic. Dr. Weingarten, thank you for being with us again.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So during the pandemic, online therapy became the norm for safety reasons. It's become the norm, or it's become more of an option across the board medically and in other businesses as well. As cases continue to drop and things are getting more and more back to some sense of normal, have you noticed that online therapy sessions have also reduced? Have they stayed the same?
I think that there are a certain subset of patients who have requested to come back to in-person, whether they are young children who don't have much of an attention span because of ADHD, or if they really are needing more one-on-one redirective. But I'm seeing a majority of patients are really enjoying continuing with online therapy. There have been so many benefits, including just saving time for travel, having to pull children and people out of school and people out of work. And it's been so convenient to have that accessibility to your therapist.
Who have you found in your experience and from discussions with other professionals in your industry, who have you found to be those that online therapy seems to be more effective for versus in-person counseling?
I have experienced, as well as many of my colleagues, that the majority of patients have done really well with online therapy. There have been multiple studies that, even prior to the pandemic, that have been exploring this, as telehealth was something that was starting to come into fruition as a way for accessibility for patients in rural areas that didn't have access to care, and really have been finding that the benefit using online therapy and the benefit using in-person therapy is very similar. And I think that's been something that's really important to remember. So most patients really have found benefit in online. So I don't even know that it's a specific. I would say the majority of patients have really enjoyed continuing online.
So for those that are seeking therapy or have been actively in therapy, maybe online, maybe in person over the last several months, or a combination of both, what considerations should they be keeping in mind as they make a decision whether to continue on with their counseling online versus in person, or some sort of an in-between workaround?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing to remember is, the fact that we have online availability is allowing so many more people to have access to care. So someone who may have not been able to get to therapy because their work schedule or their school schedule, or they're just too busy, or their children, can take an hour out of their day, step into another room, and have access to that therapy. So people with busy schedules really are benefiting from having that online option. People who are not comfortable with travel, people who, people who have a good connection with their therapist. And that can be from the very first appointment even. It really doesn't change that connection whether you're in person or online.
So are there any certain conditions where a therapist may believe that it is best for a patient to have an in-person consultation versus online?
I mean, there certainly would be. There are some conditions, such as, eating disorders, where you really need to see a person in person, whether they need to be, monitored as far as their weight, or you need to, see the entirety of their nonverbal communication. There are some patients, again, I think that the kiddos that I see with ADHD have a really hard time sometimes with online therapy because their attention span is just not there. Some of the more defiant kids that struggle. I think kids, for the most part, have done better in person just because they feel more of that connection. They feel like they're away from siblings that could possibly be listening to them. They think that they can get a little more engagement that way. That being said, I have lots of kids that I see who have done really well online, but that would be a subset as well for people that are needing to be in person.
We're joined by Dr. Brooke Weingarten from the Birmingham Maple Clinic, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, birminghammaple.com. That's birminghammaple.com for more information and for consultation. Dr. Weingarten, have you found that there are certain personality types that respond better to online therapy or telehealth versus in person? And how can those differences in personality types ultimately lead to more effective care if it is online or if it is in person versus the other?
I have found, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, those of my patients that are either a little more timid, that have more social anxiety, that may be a little more nervous about talking about certain things, maybe with some trauma history, maybe that are just a little more resistant and hesitant to the idea of talking about things, have done really well with online treatment, because something about having that the computer screen in between you is like a separation a little bit. And I think that people feel a little more comfortable then that you're not sitting directly in front of somebody. They get a little less nervous about being able to verbalize certain things that are on their mind, which is wonderful because it's a little easier for them to open up.
We're joined by Dr. Brooke Weingarten from the Birmingham Maple Clinic with us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, birminghammaple.com. That's birminghammaple.com for more information and for information as well on consultation. And so we've seen during the pandemic that particularly anxiety and depression have been very common ailments that have either come more to the forefront of people's medical existence or their needs in terms of therapy. As we're starting to come away from the pandemic and into whatever normal is going to be going forward, are you seeing or do you expect to see some of those similar feelings relapse or come back to the forefront also, because there's also this great unknown ahead of us with what does it mean to be post-pandemic?
Absolutely. So I am most definitely seeing I don't even know if it was a dip and then a surge, a continued surge of anxiety and depression. I think we've gone through many transitions throughout the last several years, going from, normal life to lockdown, and then to all virtual, and then to in-person with masks. And, all the different changes have created so many transitions for us. And this is yet another transition with an unknown, and the pandemic is still, it's not completely gone. So I'm absolutely seeing a lot of anxiety, social anxieties, panic, depression, trauma, while people are also somewhat processing everything that they've just been through, yet there's still some fears about the future, about, finances, health, all of the things that we have been experiencing but continue to be magnified.
We're joined by Dr. Brooke Weingarten from the Birmingham Maple Clinic with us on the Michigan Megacast. For those that may be having these feelings pop up, maybe they felt these feelings before and kind of ignored them, or they haven't been so severe or so severe or so visible to them, visceral to them, that they have just sort of passed them by in the past, but now it's at a point where they're feeling this is something that's not normal for me, I'm not feeling quite right. Where should that process start in terms of seeking therapy, looking for the right therapist, determining whether to go online or in person? Where should that process really start for each individual?
So that's a great question, and I get that question a lot from patients and friends in the community. Oftentimes, I think going to your primary care physician is a really nice home base to start, because they will often have therapists and psychiatrists and other mental health professionals who they would recommend to start with. They can really guide you of who they like to work with, who they feel comfortable with. If you are already working with a therapist, you may feel that you need to speak with a psychiatrist or vice versa. Sometimes you might ask a friend if there's someone that, that they've liked, or if there's another professional, somebody that they've liked. Asking around is good. And if you really don't have anyone to ask, you can always look on the back of your insurance card and see who is covered. They always will have a list of mental health providers on there. And it's a good idea to sort of read through. Now, I always emphasize to patients that the most important thing is the fit. If it's a good fit, you're going to find success in therapy, whether it's online or in person or any which way. If you don't feel like it's the right fit, it's okay to continue to explore and find somebody else, because they might be the most wonderful therapist or physician in the world, but if it's not the right fit for you, then it's not going to be as successful. So it's okay to meet a few people. It's okay to try it out and feel that you need a change.
So it's going to be different for each person. It's going to be different for each professional on the other side, whether it is a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a therapist, whomever the patient may be visiting. For you and for other colleagues of yours in the industry, that first visit with someone, can you give us a walkthrough of what sort of is that first visit like? I know it's obviously going to be different from one person to another based on what they need to talk through or what conditions they may be afflicted with. But generally speaking, what is that first visit like?
So whether you're seeing a therapist, whether it's social worker, psychologist, whether you're going to see a psychiatrist, a lot of people are very nervous because they're not quite sure what's going to happen in the first visit. And I would like to reassure you to say that, the first visit is really just somewhat to get to know you. What's bringing you to see me? Tell me a little bit about what you've been experiencing. Let's talk about your sleep habits and your appetite and some of the day-to-day things that you're experiencing. What are some things that you wish were better? And then you get into a little bit of, family history, medical history, history of treatment. It's a lot of sort of the checkpoints of just wanting to make sure that you're getting to know that person. And if there are questions, I have a lot of patients that say, I'm really nervous about therapy because I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm supposed to do or which type of therapy I need or what to tell them. And I remind them, yeah, of course you don't. That's not you don't have to know those things. If you're working with somebody, that is our job to know how to direct you and how to figure out what's the best course of action for you. So you don't have to know any of those things. We're really taking some time to get to know you, to figure out what the best treatment modality is for you. And that could be therapy, that could be medication, that could be a combination of both.
And so on the other side, for patients, what are some of the questions that you as a professional that is providing this therapy to them, this counseling to them, what would you and other professionals like from them, if they are to ask any questions, what should they be asking of the professional that they're visiting in their first visit or in their opening visits to kind of get that information back and that feedback themselves so that they can determine if this is the right fit or if they need to go look and seek another professional?
Sure. I think part of the right fit is also sort of personality meshes. And that's the type of thing that's not specific for a checklist. If you feel like you're comfortable, if you feel like you can talk to someone and you feel like you're not judged, you feel like you're in a setting where, okay, I think that I could open up and this person seems to get me. That's a huge plus, and that's a bit, that's more of an internal feeling. But sometimes it's good for a patient just to know, hey, what type of therapy are you recommending? Is there a certain, regimen that you think would be best? How many times a week, would you recommend? Do we have specific goals? Are there specific things that I need to know in order to be, my best participant in this therapy? And there may not, so those goals and those answers may change, but it's a good place to start a conversation and to develop that relationship. But a lot of it is really just that internal feeling of, do I feel comfortable? Do I feel like this person really is hearing me? Where I can then take it to the next step so we can kind of work together.
We're joined by Brooke Weingarten, Dr. Brooke Weingarten from the Birmingham Maple Clinic on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, birminghammaple.com. Dr. Weingarten, before we let you go, anything else that would be important for our audience to be considering at this time if they are in therapy, if they're considering therapy, or if they're considering whether they should go online or in person or some combination?
I think it's just great to know that if you feel that you're struggling, if you feel like your motivation has changed, you're not interested in things the way that you were, you're really feeling kind of hopeless, you're nervous and keyed up and panicky, and if things are not right for you, if you feel like you're still having a hard time, first of all, you're not alone. There's so many people that are also struggling. And it's always a good idea to reach out and find somebody to support you. We could all use the support. If everybody was working with a therapist, then the world would be a happy place. I think it's a really important thing, and you do whatever you feel works best for your schedule, whether it's in person or online, and just know that both are extremely effective. Both are equally effective. You're not losing anything by taking one versus the other. So if it works for you to only be doing online, wonderful. At least you're there, and at least you can find that support from someone.
Dr. Weingarten, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking. Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You're listening on your radio homes for the program, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. You can learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as My. With us now is Jared Barnett, a sociology undergrad student at Oakland University, who was recently honored as the recipient of the Alfred G. Wilson Award as one of the top scholars at the university. Jared, thanks for being with us.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate having you on. So you are a sociology undergrad at Oakland University. What made you choose sociology? What about that degree program was attractive to you, and what are your career hopes with that degree?
Sociology just covered a wide range of things that I had interest in. It focuses a lot on, diversity and different people in this world and different groups. And, I respect each group of people, and I'd like to be informed on different people. So it's just something I naturally gravitated to. And I feel like it's a forward way of thinking. And, moving forward, I feel like sociology will be a major part of our society and learning about, different groups of people. So, yeah. And anything that has to do with improving the everyday lives of people is what I want to have a hand in. I would like to promote diversity and inclusion. Health and wellness is another key thing. I work in the healthcare field now, and I take those things very seriously. So combining the two, it's a lot of opportunities where you can combine the two with healthcare and things that the sociology field covers. So I like to blend those two together.
And the Wilson Award winner, as is according to Oakland University on their website, oakland.edu, they mark it as being awarded to their top scholars, male and female scholars at the entire university level. And just to go over some of your accomplishments as a student at Oakland University, you've maintained a 3.91 GPA while, as you said, working at St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, working full time. This is not a part-time job in between the schools. You are a full-time employee in a hospital system during an ongoing pandemic, maintaining a 3.91 GPA in sociology. You've been on the dean's list for each of all your semesters at OU, being awarded the Donald Warren Outstanding Academic Achievement Award as well, a 2-time recipient of the Hubert Price Jr. Memorial Scholarship for Social Sciences, and being recognized by your professors for your diligence and significant dedication to your learning. Can you talk about the work that you've done at St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, how that has shaped your outlook and how that has shaped ultimately what your career will be following your undergraduate degree in sociology at Oakland University?
All right, so during the pandemic, I've done direct patient care. And through this time, it was limited visitors. If you had one visitor, you would be lucky during the pandemic. So on top of me having to take care of patients, I had to kind of play the role of family and friend to bridge that gap. And just having to do that during the pandemic showed me that, sociology is probably the best route for me. And it just kind of put the exclamation point on the route I was going and the things I was doing align with, what my purpose was. So yeah, just working in the healthcare system, you get the inside look of how things are going. And I got the chance to see what people needed the most during these type of times. And, they need the help, they need medical care, and they need moral and moral support from people. And I feel like I'm in a position to be selfless and provide that type of care for people in need. So
and studying social sciences, studying sociology, working in the healthcare system, especially in a crisis that is inherently a medical crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic, it allows you to get a firsthand look at disparities in healthcare and in different forms of treatment of healthcare based on somebody's healthcare coverage, based on their living situation, and better informs you on the needs in the health field that you're working in. How has that impacted your passion for social justice, your passion for sociology, and informed some different needs societally that you'd like to address following your degree?
It played a great deal in it because I think a lot of times people in the medical field, they kind of, it's hard for them to see from the point of view of a person who hasn't experienced many medical setbacks. And they kind of assume that people know what they need or have access to the resources they need. And I myself being on the front line, seeing, learning medical terminology and seeing from a patient standpoint, a lot of people were coming in, and this is their first experience with a major health concern, and they didn't know who to look for information. Or sometimes in the medical field, the terminology can be so specific to a person who may know about these things. And I kind of played the role of just simplifying the terminology and helping bridge the gap between the medical people who know from a technical standpoint how to take care of patients and what they need, and from a personal standpoint of someone who may have never experienced, I work on the cardiac floors, people who had heart attacks or had strokes, and that's their first experience with a major health concern. And I was the bridge in between the two that could help make it digestible. You just experienced this major health concern, but if you do this, this, and this, you can be on the road to recovery, instead of maybe a doctor or a nurse who practice this field, and you kind of grow accustomed to just knowing how to say the medical way to explain these things. I think I played a key role in bringing comfort and bringing more digestible, knowledgeable way to explain to patients how to take care of themselves once they recover from whatever they're in the hospital for.
You've also participated in the university's COVID-19 archive project that was recently featured in a segment on Fox 2 News in the Detroit area. other various undergraduate research projects as well. So let's talk particularly about the COVID-19 Archive project that you participated in. Can you tell us about that, what drew you to this project, and what you learned from that experience?
Right. So in the midst of the pandemic, so I was doing an internship at the Baldwin Center at the time, which is a community-based organization in Pontiac that has an after-school youth program. So I was doing that, helping tutor kids and do different creative writing projects with the students there. And the pandemic happened, and it kind of shut everything down. And professors who were running internship programs kind of had to scramble for assignments and fill that gap. And Dr. Orbach, who was a great professor at Oakland, she conducted the internship, and she's very helpful for students who are in school now and who want to pursue careers and go to grad school. She's a very helpful person. And she just came up with an assignment and wanted us to kind of journal our experience through the pandemic and, everyday life. She just wanted us to journal what we were experiencing personally, professionally, as students. She just wanted us, whatever was on our mind, she just, kind of encouraged us to write it down. So I'm a creative writing minor, so that was kind of right up my alley to jot down whatever I felt at the time. And I was working at St. Joe's, and I had like a, very special position and perspective to write about. So yeah, it just seemed like through everything going on, it was a perfect storm for me to journal my experience. And really, this will be in the history books. 50 years from now, we'll look back on this time and see how we thought and the everyday experience we had. So just to archive that journal that I wrote and teamed up with Oakland to do that, I think it's special. And as time goes on, our thought process and just the history of this will, become more and more valuable for generations to come. And it could help prevent the next pandemic in the future. And, I think it's a special thing to be a part of. And, I'm very thankful for all the people that reached out for this information. The archives department through the library, they encourage all students to submit. Anything pretty much. It was me doing the journals through my writing. That's just the avenue I took, but people did paintings, people did videos, people just any types of material they had, they submitted. And I just wanted to do my part. And I come from Pontiac, I come from a minority group, and I just encourage people to share that story and let your voices be known, and people will know you existed. So I'm all about just, when all things are said and done, I want people to know that I existed, and that was just another way to show that.
We're joined by Jared Barnett. He is a sociology undergrad student at Oakland University and also the recipient of Oakland University's Alfred G. Wilson Award, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. And so you mentioned you're volunteering with the Baldwin Center in Pontiac, who we've spoken to before, and your work with kids in Pontiac. You also work to help build community in Detroit. You've also volunteered with We Run 313, which is an organization based in Detroit that works on community building. It works on a dialogue within the community, building a healthier relationship between members of the community and their community, and really building up from the ground up in each of these communities that it serves. Can you talk about that organization as well and your work with We Run 313 so people are more aware of what this organization does in Detroit?
Right. So this organization, We Run 313, is a run-based organization who helps connect like-minded people in the community. And it's just a great organization to be a part of. We have runs 2 Mile Tuesdays on Tuesdays. May 3rd will be the launch of the 4th season at 6 p.m. at Young Village in Detroit off Woodward. I encourage everybody to come out. They are open to all ages, shapes, sizes. Anybody who can put a pair of shoes on and walk, run, we encourage you to come out. We have Thursday runs, 5K, 10K Thursdays, and long runs on Sundays. So this group is just, me and my brother got into running about 4 years ago. And we just, as we went on, we found communities of runners who kind of had the same experience as us. And my brother joined, they were founded in 2019, and he's been a member since day one, and I joined a few years later. And it was just amazing to connect with people who looked like me. Usually distance runners aren't from the African-American community. So it was like a special niche of people who experienced similar things in life as me. I'm from Pontiac, but Pontiac and Detroit has a lot of similarities and things we like. It was a lot to connect with, and we're all around the same age group. So it was just like the perfect opportunity to do something physically. Usually after high school, we kind of get further away from physical activity. And this was like the perfect opportunity to get back into the group physical activity. And it was just a perfect opportunity. And they do different things within the community. They've done shoe donations where people come in and they give out 150 pair of shoes. They help, they connect with the community in a way that I haven't seen. It's just been a pleasure to be a part of something so special.
Jared, before we let you go, anything else that you'd like to say today we haven't talked about, or other things you'd like to discuss?
Just getting this Alfred G. Wilson Award means so much to me because I get to represent where I come from. Not many students from Pontiac get this platform. We're surrounded by the Rochesters, the Bloomfields, all these prestigious public schools around us, and we're usually viewed as like less than, or, not on that same level. So I have the opportunity to influence and inspire the next generation of people from Pontiac to win major awards at Oakland University and bridge that gap. So yeah, I'm very honored and privileged to be in this position. And yeah, I'd like to thank everybody at Oakland University that made this possible, and hopefully we could build for a better tomorrow.
You can learn more information and read about Jared's accomplishment by visiting oakland.edu, where they have an article on their website through OU Magazine on their website at oakland.edu/OU Magazine. Jared, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. See you guys in the future.
We're going to take a break here on the Michigan Megacast. When we come back, we'll talk all things jobs with Ryan Hunt from the Michigan Works Association. That's coming up next. This is the Michigan Megacast.
There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. Being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. now is the CEO of Michigan Works Association. Ryan Hunt is with us now on the Michigan Megacast. Ryan, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Tyler. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning.
Yeah, good to have you with us as well. So let's start off. For those that may be unfamiliar, can you tell us what the Michigan Works Association is and what it does to help workforce development in the state of Michigan, but also to help and advocate for workers in the state of Michigan?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Michigan Works Association, we are a nonprofit based in Lansing, and you may have heard of the Michigan Works system in Michigan. Hopefully many of the viewers today are familiar with their local Michigan Works office. There are 16 Michigan Works agencies throughout the state of Michigan, strategically located throughout all corners of the state. Those 16 Michigan Works agencies have 66 service centers and 33 one-stop centers that are all physical locations throughout the state. And those facilities and the staff that are there in those buildings are there to serve both job seekers in our communities and employers who are looking to hire individuals each day in a range of industries, a range of occupations. So if you're looking for job seeker support, or if you're an employer looking to make some hires in your local community, the Michigan Works office, you can really think of it as an extension of your HR team there to support the hiring and the employability skills and the upskilling of our workforce here in the state of Michigan. And so the Michigan Works Association represents those 16 Michigan Works offices across the state. And we do that in three key buckets. The first bucket is primarily legislative advocacy at the federal and the state level. We recognize that workforce development is going to be a key component in ensuring that the state of Michigan remains on the right track toward long-term economic resiliency, especially as we hopefully start coming out of the pandemic a little bit more here in the coming months. We also focus on professional development. We host a number of workshops and training sessions for frontline Michigan Works staff at each of those 16 agencies across the state on an annual basis. We have a few that are actually going on this week. And then we also focus on raising the visibility of the workforce system in Michigan, and we do so through a number of key events throughout the year. We just had our annual Impact Awards in Lansing in late March, just a few weeks ago, where we had a winner from each of the 16 Michigan Works agencies. Some of them were employers, some of them were employees of companies in our communities, some were job seekers or community partners. And so through those efforts and awarding and recognizing those individual contributors to our economy, we're raising the visibility of all the things that our workforce system here in Michigan can accomplish through the Michigan Works system. And then we also have our annual conference coming up September 11th through the 13th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort in Mount Pleasant. That'll be our first in-person annual conference in over 2 years.
So Ryan, at this moment in time, given that, as you said, we're starting to, especially economically, come out from the throes of the pandemic, and socially and societally in Michigan and the U.S., across the world, we're seeing things sort of transition away from pandemic-era behaviors and pandemic-era precautions as of now. And that could change. But at this moment in time, where is Michigan economically, and especially with the job market, in terms of availability, in terms of what is open, and in terms of what's being looked for in an employee by many of the companies that have these job openings?
Yep, great question. There's some good news and some bad news, right? The good news is Michigan's economic recovery from the pandemic continues to, I think, exceed expectations from many of us. Who have been living through and working with both employers and job seekers the last couple of years just to keep them engaged in the economy, make sure that the businesses have the right folks to hire, but also the job seekers have the right skills and the right resources to get into positions that are of higher wage quality, maybe an opportunity for them to continue upskilling themselves and being able to raise a family and support themselves in their community. So the good news is, again, the economy in Michigan continues to rebound quite extraordinarily. The bad news, however, is here in Michigan, we have a lower than average labor force participation rate when you look across the national economy right now. And that's due to a number of factors. Right here in Michigan, for example, the hospitality industry was one of the hardest hit industries in Michigan. And when you compare that to the hospitality industry across the entire nation, Michigan saw a rather dramatic effect in a negative fashion as a result of the pandemic, especially early on, in the spring and summer months of 2020. That has continued to rebound. However, we're still seeing a number of job openings in some of those areas in the hospitality industry in Michigan. And just as well as anybody, Tyler, we rely heavily on our tourism industry, not just in the summer months with beautiful northern Michigan. If you go to Traverse City or Alpena and you enjoy the beaches and the wonderful tourist destinations, but it's really a year-round tourist attraction for individuals, not just in the U.S., but globally as well. So we're doing all that we can to help support those workers in the hospitality industry and working with other partners like at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association to help out with that industry. So the more that we can do to help increase the labor force participation rates in Michigan, we're happy to partner with other public stakeholders like the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, and also private stakeholders and companies to ensure that when they're looking for eligible qualified workers, they have the right resources in place. Maybe there's some federal or some state assistance they can tap into to help hire different populations, such as those who may have been previously incarcerated that are now returning to work, maybe individuals with disabilities, just kept trying to overturn any leaf that they can in order to find that qualified talent here in Michigan in order to raise those labor force participation rates.
We're joined by Ryan Hunt, the Chief Executive Officer of the Michigan Works Association, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, michiganworks.org. That's michiganworks.org. For those who aren't qualified for certain jobs, what do you recommend to become more skilled or to put themselves in a more advantageous position to acquire some of these open jobs that they may be seeking at this time, whether they are currently at another job and continue to labor at that job or are out of the job market at this point, maybe on unemployment or an expired unemployment?
Great question. What we're seeing right now, and this is not just here in Michigan, this is really nationally and in many cases globally, especially in some of our competing countries across the entire world. It's going to take a more educated, more qualified, better skilled workforce in order for us to compete in a 21st century global economy, especially in some of the driving industries like advanced manufacturing and technology. We're the state that put the world on wheels, and in order for us to continue maximizing our potential and winning the future in many of these driving industries, we know that we need folks who have more than just a high school diploma. We need people with post-secondary credentials. It may not necessarily be an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, but we need folks with the right credentials and the right certifications in order for Michigan to remain globally competitive and globally relevant for that matter. And so you may have heard of Governor Whitmer's 60 by 30 initiative. And the goal there is by 2030, 60% of working age adults in Michigan would have some type of post-secondary degree or credential. And what we're seeing, if you look at the state's top 50 hot jobs through 2028, the bulk of those jobs are going to require some type of post-secondary credential or post-secondary degree. And so what we're encouraging individuals is to contact their local Michigan Works office in their community. You can get hooked up with a number of individuals who are the frontline staff there, and day in and day out, they're helping to serve as career coaches for job seekers and helping them align their passions and their interests with in-demand jobs of the future by upskilling themselves, looking for not only the technical skills that individuals need, but also the employability skills, or what's oftentimes referenced as soft skills. You think of time management, the ability to work in a team environment. Those are critical skills right now that can help set individuals apart from the rest of the competition if they're looking for new employment opportunities. And again, by engaging with their local Michigan Works office, there's a number of resources that individuals can tap into that can help offset the cost or maybe even eliminate the cost altogether for upskilling opportunities.
On the other side of that coin, you have these employers that are looking to fill a lot of these jobs. In some cases, they have a massive openings in their companies, in certain departments of their companies, certainly in certain industries. Like you had said, you mentioned hospitality in particular is really hurting for employees at this time. You were quoted recently in a Detroit Free Press article that focused on the so-called Great Resignation, particularly focusing on restaurant workers, those in hospitality, restaurant workers, those working in hotels and so on. And what you referred to that situation as the, quote, great upgrade, not great resignation. What do you mean by that, and how does that context play into what employers should be focusing on at this point to fill some of those job openings, given the current state of our market?
Sure. Yeah, when I mentioned the great upgrade, we've heard the phrase over the last couple of years, the great resignation. And I think when people hear that, they think people are just sitting on the sidelines, not willing to re-engage in the economy. It's primarily impacting middle income to higher income white collar workers who are now resigning their positions and, either not re-engaging the economy or being very cautious about what they're going to do for their next career opportunity. What we're seeing in the information from here in Michigan and across the country is it's really should be the great upgrade is what it probably should be called, because that dynamic is more heavily impacting lower wage workers who may be looking for the next opportunity, and they may be leaving for a job that pays 50 cents an hour more or $1 an hour or more down the street, or they're looking for opportunities to re-engage in the economy in a different occupation, in a different industry entirely. We've seen individuals that are leaving certain industries here in Michigan and across the U.S. and they're pursuing industries or occupations that are more in demand, that lead to higher wage, higher skilled positions. And so what we're doing right now in coordination with our Michigan Works agencies and our private sector audience throughout the state of Michigan is we're encouraging companies to look at ways that they can help either retain and or attract new employees into their company. And some of the ways that they can do that is by enhancing the corporate culture within their company, not just focusing on increasing wages. We have seen wages increase quite a bit through the course of the pandemic, especially in certain industries like the hospitality industry. But there's only so much that a private sector company can do to increase wages before that really starts to eat into their bottom line. But there are many other things that they can do in order to help enhance that corporate culture. Part of it, we've talked a little today about upskilling and training. Individuals and workers are looking for companies that are interested in not just having them come in and do the job 9 to 5, but they want a company that's going to make that recurring investment in their professional development. So upskilling and training is a great way for companies to show that return on investment for the individual workers that they have at their company. We're also seeing that cross training and job shadowing into different departments or different areas of a company can also help lead to long-term retention of employees, especially if you have a company who's starting at, maybe the ground level on the production floor, but they want to move into a management position. Are there things that the company can be doing in the near term to help individuals get into some type of management track, whether that's in-house training or taking some courses at the local community college that are geared toward what the individual wants to do long-term? So the better long-term outlook that companies have in investing in their employees, we're seeing those companies are having better retention and attraction rates compared to their counterparts who may not be investing as much in those upskilling opportunities for their employees.
We're joined by Ryan Hunt, the Chief Executive Officer of Michigan Works Association, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information at michiganworks.org. That's michiganworks.org. How does inflation play into the job market at this time? For employers, I would imagine that means a lot higher costs, which means a lot less cash flow, lower revenue, less money to spend, particularly on employment, which then for employees looking to seek these jobs, they may have better opportunities. They may have opportunities for better pay in a similar position that's maybe a little bit lower in a company somewhere else than what certain companies. So just overall, what role has inflation played in this, and how long do you project, or does Michigan Works project, this could have an impact on employers and therefore on potential employees?
Man, that is a great question. I do not pretend to be an economist, and I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, but I'll do my best to answer those questions for you, at least what we're seeing right now and kind of what we're hearing from some of our subject matter experts on the topic of inflation. Consumer demand has not slowed down. So even though we're seeing inflation and the rising cost of goods and services across the board, not only for individual families to afford the basic necessities, but also for cost of goods and services for businesses to be able to do their jobs and for workers to be able to do their jobs. That consumer demand is helping to kind of offset some of the inflationary dynamics that you may typically see ahead of perhaps a slight or deep recession in a state or national economy. But because of that consumer demand, companies are still hiring. We're not seeing really any slowdown in the job market right now. We're still having a number of companies in a range of industries that are continuously hiring, looking for that next best and brightest talent. And for workers as well, that inflation has led to an increase in wages, which you would think is oftentimes a good thing for wages to be able to increase. The problem that we're running into now that we're seeing here in the US and across the globe is inflation is actually rising faster than wage increases are. But now we're also running into the dynamic where companies who have been raising their wages for the last couple of years cannot afford to raise their wages much more without cutting into that bottom line. So what the future holds for us here in Michigan and across the national economy, I think, is yet to be seen. Because of that consumer demand, I think we'll see that inflation will continue, maybe not at the level of 8.5% like we saw in March. I know some economists are projecting that the inflation will start to perhaps dip a little bit, which will provide hopefully some relief for the cost of basic goods and necessities for individuals and their families. The other dynamic we have to think about as well, we had a recession back in 2007, 2008, 2009. Michigan was one of the states that was hit hardest across the entire nation when it came to the Great Recession a little over a decade ago. I think the difference in dynamics this time around is the job shortages that companies are running into, where they have a shortage of workers, but they have a number of different job openings. And we've seen over the course of the pandemic, quite a few, millions of people that have retired and maybe expedited their retirement because of the pandemic. And we're not expecting those individuals to re-engage in the economy. So even if we do see a slight slowdown in the hiring of employees, maybe it's just simply that companies won't hire as many people as they would have necessarily projected due to any particular slowdown. That also may just be the optimist in me, but I'm hopeful that as a nation and as a state, we can weather any storm that is coming due because of the inflationary dynamic. But at the end of the day, we're here to support the job seekers in order to upskill themselves to better support their individual lives and their families. We're also here to support the businesses who are looking to hire those individuals as well, whether, regardless of the inflation rate right now. But I know that we're tracking that very carefully, and I know that it will have significant impact probably in the medium term, I would say, here in Michigan, not necessarily any short-term fixes. And I'm scared to make any long-term projections, but I would say inflation is certainly here to serve as a dynamic impacting labor force participation here in Michigan and nationally, probably, at least for the next several months, if not longer.
Ryan, anything else that we should be keeping in mind right now in terms of Michigan Works' opportunity to help employers and employees alike?
Sure. Again, I mentioned this at the very beginning of the interview today. Workforce development is a critical component to ensuring that Michigan remains on the track toward long-term economic resiliency. We're starting to get into budget discussions here in Michigan for fiscal year 23, also talking with federal lawmakers about appropriations for the upcoming fiscal year as it relates to workforce development. Again, we encourage both job seekers and companies to communicate and contact their local Michigan Works office. There are a number of different resources and opportunities to help offset the cost of training, perhaps even eliminate or lower some barriers that individuals may be running into when it comes to sustained employability. One program that we've had a huge amount of success over the past 6 or 7 years here in Michigan is the Going Pro Talent Fund, formerly known as the Skilled Trades Training Fund. That program last year in fiscal year 22 was funded at $40 million throughout the state of Michigan. That program helps companies offset the cost of training. They can receive a reimbursement of up to $1,500 per eligible trainee or up to $3,000 per new apprentice at their company. And we expect to continue supporting that program in fiscal year 23 and beyond, thanks to the support. It's actually really a bipartisan support, not only from the governor's office, but on both sides of the aisle in the State House and the State Senate. And so for companies, again, that's just another resource that they can utilize to help upskill their employees and really help enrich the corporate culture at their company to reinvest in their workers.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, we'll also find information about our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. We're joined now by Christiane Malone, the president of Detroit United Lacrosse, one of nearly 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Shared Detroit platform. Christiane, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Appreciate having you on. So you are with Detroit United Lacrosse. Can you tell us about the organization and what it does to benefit the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So Detroit United Lacrosse was founded in 2019, and our focus is to bring the sport of lacrosse here to the city of Detroit to really help unify the youth of Detroit's neighborhoods by promoting character education, personal development, and pathways to prosperity by instilling the values of the sport, which includes respect, honor, courage, and integrity. And through that, we hope to make, better citizens from our youth, and that they will uphold the virtues of the game both on and off the field.
So youth athletics are a key part of developing a child, developing strong young leaders, people that work well in teams, social skills for kids of all ages. And that can go with really any sort of physical activity or any sort of sport. So why was lacrosse what was ultimately chosen for this organization to run with?
Yeah, absolutely. Lacrosse has been a passion of mine, as well as our other co-founder and all of our coaches who are currently assisting and volunteering with us in the organization. I grew up playing lacrosse, and it's also because I don't look like a typical lacrosse player. I've gotten that quite often. Being a female and also a female of color, I don't have that typical lax bro look. And so I, wanted to bring the sport of lacrosse because it's done so much in my life and provided so many connections. And just, it's unique, it's fun. It incorporates so many of the modern day sports such as hockey, soccer, and basketball. You see that reflected in how the game is played. And it's something that I, wanted to also share with the youth of the city, as well as my co-founder, Summer Aldred. And together, we're so excited to just share our love and passion of the sport, and hoping that youth of Detroit would also have that same love and passion as well.
We're joined by Christiane Malone, the president of Detroit United Lacrosse, with us on the Michigan Megacast. More information can be found on their website or on shareddetroit.org. We can look through their entire catalog of nearly 300 charities and nonprofits. Just go to their charities and nonprofits page and search for Detroit United Lacrosse, or visit DetroitUnitedLacrosse.org. And so, Christiane, what are some of the programs that are offered through Detroit United Lacrosse to those in the community? Of course, there's the lacrosse program, but there's other programs as well that help for that leadership development and that community development.
Yes, absolutely. So no matter what, when we're playing, we definitely are instilling values of the game, as well as those character traits and, coaching not only for the sport, but also in life. And so, yes, we do program a lot of lacrosse almost year round. Almost the only time we take the stop actually programming lacrosse is during lacrosse season in the spring. And that's just because us as coaches and, leaders are actually coaching high school teams, which conflicts with running an organization at this time. But we're quickly growing. And so we look to actually start playing during lacrosse season. And so we program summer that's called our Detroit City Recreational League. We also have a high school travel program for both boys and girls, which is called our Panthers program. Right now, we actually launched a middle school program called our Cubs. So it's a middle school competitive program. In the fall, we do fall ball. And then in the winter, but also this summer, we are now launching our new program called Crossroots, which is a character development program that is starting with 7th graders. They meet twice a week. And so half of the program is dedicated to character education, skill building, life skills, the things that students would need to know, beyond the classroom. And then the second half of the evening is actually lacrosse instruction. And in the middle, they will have a meal so they can break bread together, talk. And so we start with cohorts of 40, 20 boys and 20 girls. And then every year, as we go forward, we'll add an additional 7th grade cohort on. And then hopefully the cohort that, everyone from the previous cohort stays on board as well, too. And so our goal is to pretty much have a full, group of kids, 7th through 12th grade, all learning different things, participating in different ways. But ultimately, they're still learning those life skills as well as growing their lacrosse acumen and literacy through our program. And at the end of the day, we want them to go on, stay in touch with us, give back to the community, help uplift other and future aspiring players as well. And regardless if they decide to continue playing on, in college or thereafter, we want them just to have that feeling of giving back, but also knowing that they gain a lot from not only our program, but like I said before, gaining those skills that they can apply on and off the field.
We're joined by Christiane Malone, the president of Detroit United Lacrosse, with us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, DetroitUnitedLacrosse.org. That's DetroitUnitedLacrosse.org. Or you can learn more about the organization and ways that you can help the organization by visiting ShareDetroit.org and searching on in their catalog of charities and nonprofits throughout the Detroit area over there on their website, ShareDetroit.org. And so, Christiane, if parents are interested in getting their kids involved, or kids would like to get involved with Detroit United Lacrosse, how do they go about doing that, and when are these programs available to them to sign up?
Yes, great question. So first and foremost, we pretty much take all ages of youth. So, we've started as young as 3 years old and of course gone up to 18, 19 when they're seniors in high school. And through that, they don't have to have any lacrosse experience required. We are an introductory program, and also we're a pipeline program for here in this city. And so not only are we able to teach the basics of the sport, we're able to coach up if they want to continue to play competitively. So our programs are just say starting chronologically from now, we'll be launching our summer Detroit City Recreational League. That is for ages 14 and under. And that is introductory, short-sided play. We use softer balls. No equipment is required. We provide all the sticks. And that's all they really need during that play. And they practice twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then they'll come together every other week on Saturdays to play, other of the rec league teams within our program on that day. We also have, I said, our high school travel program too, called Panthers. Similarly, because we know lacrosse is a brand new sport here in the city of Detroit, no experience is required. And like many high schools here in Michigan, it is still an emerging sport, and kids, from whether it's the suburbs or cities, they are just learning it because, it has not been something that has been played for, as long as it has been on the East Coast, I should say. And that is opportunity for new and experienced high school players to come out and play with us. We also have our adult league too, and so in the summer, so it's a great opportunity for former players or adults, collegiate, post-collegiate, who are just wanting to play or learn to get out on the field and stretch those legs and dust off the old skills and show everyone what they got. Then in going into the fall, we have our fall ball. So similarly as our Detroit City Rec League, it just carries that on to fall. So same age groups, 13 to 18. And we still have some of our Panthers playing in tournaments during that fall time. We then go into winter, which Crossroots also kicks off again, which is our starting the 7th grade cohorts. And that is our leadership and character development program. And then we also host a series of open clinics. We partner with the Detroit City Fieldhouse and host some indoor play during that time as well. And then, of course, just throughout the rest of the, summer and the year, we also work with other nonprofits too. So we host camps and clinics, and we partner with nonprofits who have day camps, and we'll have actually some of our high schoolers go out and assist with guiding the instruction at those day camps. They are all trained. I'm proud to say all of our coaches are level 1 certified through USA Lacrosse. We make sure our student athletes are also level 1 certified if they do want to go and assist. So we make sure everyone's adequately trained, background checks, and we make sure to deliver the highest level of instruction that is based on the level of play that our kids are coming in at. So we're not throwing anyone in there, and we have safety as our biggest element. And so we don't want to put kids against each other that aren't prepared. We really want to make sure that we give them the level of instruction that makes them love the game. They get excited about the new things that they can learn, because our goal is for kids to continue playing sports. 70% of youth in the United States stop playing sports by the age of 13. And so we really want to help stop that statistic and help, aid in our youth continuing to play. Whether it doesn't have to be, D1, it doesn't have to be, on the highest level travel team, just staying active, being engaged, making friends, having fun. That is our, our core of why we're doing this. And so we want to just continue that on and have it be an enjoyable experience for all.
Christine, another couple minutes with you before we'll have to let you go today. Before we do, what are some important ways that at this time the community can support Detroit United Lacrosse and the ways that it's supporting kids in the Detroit area?
Yeah, great question. So there are pretty much 3 areas that we're currently looking for right now. One, volunteers always. We always love volunteers, whether you have lacrosse experience or, any sport experience, that is fine. Or if you don't, that's fine too. We're also looking for subject matter experts. We are a growing organization, so like legal expertise, finance and accounting expertise. Those are all great skills that we will love for a volunteer to help bring to us as we continue to have our organization grow. Grant writing, of course, we've done pretty good so far, but we know we can always do better. Also, we have recently acquired a new office space at the Durfee Innovation Center Society over in kind of the central area of the city. And we are right now furnishing that space, but of course, having additional funds to continue our build out, to make it a place that kids can come after school. We then use the field in order to, have practices. But so that's something that is also needed, just kind of helping build out, I would say, our infrastructure. We're doing very well equipment wise. So I know a lot of people have old equipment in their garages, basements. And right now we're, I would say we're good on equipment. Appreciate everyone wanting to kind of clean out their houses. But if you have, any monetary or, intellectual donations that you can give us, that is really what we're looking for right now, our human capacity in order to continue to build out our infrastructure, as I said.
Christiane, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you having us today.
More information is on their website at DetroitUnitedLacrosse.org. That's DetroitUnitedLacrosse.org. You can also go to sharedetroit.org to learn more about them, as well as hundreds of other charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Oakland County and Michigan Megacast. I want to give a big thank you to everybody that joined us on today's edition of the program. Dave Dulio, political science professor and director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University. Dr. Brooke Weingarten from the Birmingham Maple Clinic talking about mental health with us on today's program. Big thank you to her as well. Jared Barnett, the Alfred G. Wilson Award recipient at Oakland University. Congratulations again to Jared on his academic accomplishments over there at Oakland University as a full-time worker also at St. Joseph Mercy Health System while maintaining a 3.91 GPA at Oakland University. Ryan Hunt, the executive director of the Michigan Works Association, and of course Christiane Malone, the president of the Detroit United Lacrosse Organization. More information on all of these guests and find all their interviews on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. We'll also find our full episodes on demand and more information and links to each and every one of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets such as My Michigan TV, otherwise known as My. Highly encourage you also to go to our coronavirus page to keep up to date on COVID-19 and top stories across the state of Michigan. That is at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. The links to the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division are at the top of the page. Scroll down a little bit, you'll have our top stories making headlines all across the Great Lakes state each and every day. That's civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Big thank you to our crew as well that makes this program possible each and every day. Calvin Brown, our technical director, with me in the studio every single day for the full 2-hour program. Jared Clark, our Zoom producer at the office of My Michigan TV. The king of television, Larry Nyland, our producer, getting all the guests booked and helping them and us prepare for each and every discussion that we have on this program. And Maddie Mushkin out at Master Control, who helps us both on and off the air every single day we run our live program. I'm My Michigan TV. Steve Lato Live is next, and then we will return tomorrow with a new episode of the Megacast.